Hey there, chart friends. Lamont here from JKS, checking in on the solar sector. Solar sector. So, just chopping about, not doing so much. Let's take a peek. Let's take a peek at the monthly chart. So, it's slowing down a little bit, but no major red flags yet on the monthly chart. Although, of course, there still are 13 days left on this candle to print. Weekly time frame. So we had that a big red weekly bar. However, the volume is not terribly significant right now, and the range is rather large. The range is rather large in this entire box. So I wouldn't be surprised to stay range bound between 80.86 and 64.48 for a few weeks, 3-4 weeks. It could easily go into next month, into January, just tightening up in this very large weekly range, and the bulls will take it. Honestly, after this kind of a move up, just to go sideways, kind of like over here, that's fine. That's ideal. It's better than down, right? If you're a bull. Okay, so on the daily time frame, this daily lower high is now set at 76.13. And the key support now is 70.40. If 70.40 were to get taken out, then that would confirm, that would confirm a, let's see that. Okay. How many are there? It's like that bucket gif. Okay, anyway. So that would confirm the price action downtrend, right? And then we would be looking at the potential of this support shelf to hold again if we get this confirmed daily downtrend. So just something to be mindful of. These levels can come back into play, and that's what that trade setup was, just in case we can get hourly oversold into this range again. Not a bad time to be looking for a potential daily pivot. Ideally, it would be a daily higher low, but obviously right now the potential of it being a lower low is there. So we'll be a bit more cautious on any bounce plays. So even though we might position here for some hourly oversold bounce, looking for a daily pivot, if that were to play out like that, we would just be looking up, the bulls would just be looking up at 76.13 resistance. So zooming into the hourly time frame, just sideways, obviously, because of obviously we knew that from the daily chart, right? Because it's just pretty much 4 sideways bars. But anyway, on the hourly time frame, we're just watching this tightening EQ, and it's kind of let's see. So I mean, yeah, you could call it a bit of a falling wedge forming. You could call it a bit of a falling wedge forming. It's not ideal. You ideally, there's a bit more slant to it, but whatever the case may be, these bear breaks are getting minimal follow through, and so whenever breaks of support or resistance are getting minimal follow through, typically it's a good time to at least look the other way. I'm not saying initiate a trade right away, but at least look the other way. Okay. So heading into tomorrow, ideally the bulls will show up right away and break this EQ bullish. If they are able to hold this low of 73.40 and break over this high of 74.87, then they will have changed the hourly trend and they will be looking up at key resistance 76.13, which is that daily lower high. So Tan is kind of at a crossroads here, right? Because if this support here, 70.40, gets taken out, that's a confirmed daily downtrend. If this resistance of 76.13 gets taken out, however, that's a confirmed daily uptrend. So this bounce, while is very significant, has not yet confirmed an uptrend, right? So we just have this big move, a higher low, a lower high, and now we are looking to potentially break that resistance or break this support, right? So whatever happens will set the tone for the following month. All right, and regarding trade setups, we just want to be potentially looking for hourly oversold conditions here somewhere. There's somewhere, again, bottom fishing this range as we have done many times before back here. And we would just be looking for something like that to hold. Actually hold. So short-term trades would be looking for something like that. If we are able to get down, that's weird. If we are able to get down into this shelf of support as a potential short, bears can be top fishing this key resistance here of 84.50, and ideally they'll do so in hourly overbought conditions. Oops. Which happens to line up pretty well with this happens to line up pretty well with the channel resistance. Okay, so one of those situations where a little bit of something for everybody. Bears and bulls, everybody's eating. Maybe we just look for like a median line test or a test down to the shelf, something like that. And these are ultimate targets, right? Before these ultimate targets are real, it's a lot easier to realize these ultimate targets if you take a little bit of profit off of your position and then protect it, right? Because then you lower your cost basis, right? Okay, what's next here? JKS. All right, so obviously these names did not get into our zones of interest highlighted on the 12th, but that's fine, no problem. You know, these, again, trade setups, you know, something to remember. Trade setups are not designed to capture every single move, right? They're just designed to capture a very specific move. That's the whole point of the setup. You want to take that trade when it fulfills all of your requirements, all of the trade parameters, and never deviate from that, unless it's another setup that you've proven profitability with. Okay, so JKS monthly time frame inside bar is very likely given the range of this previous bar. On the weekly time frame, we have this very healthy sideways consolidation. Honestly, on the weekly, it doesn't look bad at all. Putting in a ton of volume up here. Yeah, let's zoom out. Oh, okay. So only bit of concern would be these big old upper wicks, but as long as the bulls are defending this base of support down here near 56, they'll take it. Just playing defense. Just playing defense, battling over this pivot for the month. Okay, so we're just in this daily EQ, watching this tightening range. On the hourly time frame, is going to likely be similar. Yes, it's very similar. So this trade is still live. Not that it's live, but that it's still alive. Meaning that if we were to get down here into the space of support, test this channel support line, trend line, and be hourly oversold, that's not a bad place to be scouting for a potential position. So something like that. Just want to make sure, again, you always do your shopping in hourly oversold conditions for the daily pivots. Okay, so I'm just looking for that as an interim trade. Ideally, though, the bulls will show up right away tomorrow, start off strong. And I mean, honestly, the price action trends, they mean a little bit less to me right now when we're just in the sideways chop. Right, so for me, the most important thing is, of course, we need to see that price action trend change to see follow through outside of the range. But as long as we're within the range, that's really all I care about. So this is pretty much what I care about. Chopping about now in this range. Yeah, that's all I really care about. Honestly, you could just highlight the whole thing, right? So the absolute low here, and then I'm just gonna ignore, not that it's not relevant, but I just don't want to pay attention to these big spikes that blew out and then just had us return to the base. I only care about this like chop zone. And you can see where all this volume got put in. So if you draw it by volume, it would look like this. All right, so while we're range bound, we're just going to be bottom fishing the bottom of the range, top fishing the top of the range. Ideally, because we're looking for daily pivots, we'll have hourly oversold or overbought conditions for our trade initiation. So for short side, it looks something like that. Where'd that go? All right, so something for both. Again, for JKS, and that's just because we're EQing. So run, perfect example of what I'm talking about. Right, you just want to be very mindful of the range. As long as we're range bound, all we really care about is the range. And so far, if that's all you've cared about, then potentially you have this trade, potentially you have this trade, right? So looking left for those established ranges for wherever there will be congestion. And you can tell that there will be congestion here because if you look left, that's the lowest close, right? So for essentially what you had here was bulls were basing, playing defense, and then they were able to gain some ground, play offense. And now the bears sent them back into this contentious zone. So now we're just bouncing about in the range again. So range bound, what I care about is the range. Daily EQ, tightening range. Hourly chart, same thing, very tight. Break is likely tomorrow, if not in PM. It's very likely to break within a day or two. For this range is getting very tight now. Is about 4% range, 4% range. So break is imminent, and just like all those, just like JKS and TAN, all we care about is playing the range. All right. So if we were to come down here, test the range. In hourly oversold conditions, you have a long. I'm not gonna keep drawing this; it's a waste of time. The idea, the idea is this is your zone of interest, right? We're gonna scale in on this white box. Why? Because that's where hourly would be oversold, as we can tell by our little RSI indicator, and we will be in our zone of interest, which right now is the limitations, the boundaries of our range. Okay, so up there like that. All right, so look short over here, look long over here. Okay, and RSI always at your back. Just want some kind of exhaustion tool. FSLR. Alrighty, FSLR long-term chart, trying to leave this base that it has been in for many years? For many years it's been in this base. Hot dang. Okay, and I'll just mark it off with the previous highest close, which was right there. And you can see now we've got multiple closes outside of this base. So the macro chart is looking kind of good, although of course there's a lot of resistance here that the bulls will have to make their way through before they can start breaking into no resistance territory, quite a ways away. Weekly time frame, we are technically consolidating, looking for a weekly higher low. Show you. Technically, we are consolidating, looking for a weekly higher low. We're not very confident that this weekly higher low has been set here because of this big red bar following it. And so if we were to continue pulling back, then I would say that anything over 59.52 would still be a weekly higher low. I know that technically you have a pivot here, like so. And so if we broke to lower lows, that would be technically a weekly trend change on price action. But for me personally, I don't really consider these as much pivots. Two candles. I don't know. I like to see at least two candles of downside to consider it a pivot. Let me see if there's any, like this, right? Even this one is a bit questionable, but at least it's more clear in that there is a nice high and then it breaks to a higher high over it, right? So even that is kind of rinky dink. I would consider these all are pretty rinky dink, but whatever the case may be, as long as the bulls can save the weekly trend over 59.52, then the monthly trend will stay healthy, or rather this monthly move will stay healthy. We can see more monthly continuation. But even if we were to break this low, or to get a weekly trend change and break the previous month's low, we would just be looking for a healthy monthly higher low over 28.47. So macro, things are looking okay. The daily chart, this does not look great. This looks kind of toppy, with bulls constantly trying to push up into this upper range, getting rejected many times. And so really this is like the line in the sand right here, all right? This level right here is the line in the sand, and so that's pretty much why our range was established here. And so this was our zone of interest. If there was hourly oversold conditions here, I definitely wouldn't be critical of anybody who initiated off that, although obviously you did not get much opportunity to take profit on that trade. So I didn't get oversold, so ideally, didn't get oversold, so ideally we would have been a bit more conservative with our zone of interest, although because it was already marked off, we could have just moved it down a little bit to get closer. Still have these support areas over here, these lows that got put in here, that little pivot there, and then we'd be closer to our channel support, and we would have hourly oversold conditions at our back. And that being said, it's not a bad look. Like if you're approaching the channel support and you're just kind of going sideways to get to it, it's a lot better than if you just rush down to it, although of course there was a good defense here. And this lower support line, I just want to point out, we're not very high confidence. There's only been one hit on it. Yes, the median line hits are good, and the standard deviation line hit is decent, but still we only have one tag here, so we're still assuming parallelity on this channel. Okay. So if you hadn't initiated yet today, or if you did initiate and ideally you took some profit, if not, respect your stop losses, people, and then potentially look for another trade a little bit lower, bottom fishing these same levels, or if you're sized properly for deeper scales, no problem. Maybe you can pyramid down, whatever the case may be. Just make sure you want to scale into the zone of interest if you're looking long in hourly oversold conditions. Okay, and again, this line in the sand, very, very important. $80 psychological. The more basing that the bulls can get, the better, but ideally they will break over this key. Oh man, no pivot here. Ideally, they will break over this key resistance of 82.25 to start looking to test the middle of the range where all these tops got put in, and then ideally top of the range. All right, so we're also range bound on FSLR as well, but the daily chart looks a bit weaker. Line in the sand, most important level, $80. Plug. Alrighty. Plug with a big monthly bar. Whenever we pull back, we'll be looking for a healthy monthly higher low. Anything over 253 will be a monthly higher low. The weekly time frame, same thing. Whenever we pull back to look for a weekly higher low, we will be looking for one over 1369. Plenty of space for the bulls to do so. On the daily time frame, no sign of daily consolidation yet, except for this extended hours news. So there's some dilution news that is shaping up, and so now if we were to open here tomorrow, daily consolidation would have begun. But honestly, after this huge run with very minimal daily consolidation, just this little minor pullback, it's to be expected, no problem. So on a daily time frame, let's see, did we change the hourly trend going into the end of the day with extended hours on? Technically, no. We have yet to confirm an hourly downtrend to have us scouting that daily higher low, but it's pretty hard to ignore the potential of this kind of inverse, I mean, not inverse, head and shoulders kind of pattern here, right? Where you have this rounded shape here, and then now potentially if we bounce from here to make a lower high, then we could see that head and shoulders play out. And so, oh yeah, right, I forgot about this. Ideally, thank you, Matt, for this trade. And for the heads up for extended hours. You know, if you're not a member of the community, I really encourage you to consider, maybe even if it's not membership into our Slack community, but membership into any kind of group of people, of traders, right? So you can bounce ideas off of and have more eyes on the market. Matt was, oh, actually, I didn't even get close to lower day. I thought I got a decent exit on this news. One of our members let me know that, hey, there's some dilution news, and I jumped on the computer really quick because I was in this trade and I kept a runner, and I was able to get some out before what I thought was low of day, but actually I think low of day was actually quite higher. No, I did. Nice. Okay. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so plug looking like it has, so I mean, I don't know if you guys care about a trade review for this, but it's the same thing. We're just looking left for potential levels to bottom fish off of, and we wanted to do our buying in 5-minute oversold conditions. And so they presented themselves here, right? So good estimate on that, you know, on that pre-night setup, but remember, always adjust these orders. This just happened to be good. 5-minute was getting oversold right around here, so this trade setup remained perfect as is, but sometimes, you know, things change overnight, right? So you just want to be mindful of that. Either way, target was hit. And now, tomorrow, what the bears will be scouting is a potential lower high. Anything under, let's see here, 25.33 will be an hourly lower high, and really you can default to this one as well. 25.49. Nah, take this one. I thought with extended hours on that would be the high, but this is the one. That's the ticket. Anything under 25.33 will be an hourly lower high. So we'll just want to be doing our shopping in 5-minute overbought conditions, and maybe we can extend our channel now to include this new datum. Did I just say datum? Alrighty, so let's see. So if we start off weak tomorrow and pull back some more and then come up and backtest this channel, if we were to backtest it in 5-minute overbought conditions, that would be a really good time to be looking for a potential pivot. But as it stands right now, 5-minute overbought conditions would be something like that. Something like that. Okay, so a potential short tomorrow for plug. Although you know, you want to be a bit cautious, right? Because maybe people who are waiting for a pullback are now looking to get in. I don't know. Don't be too biased, I guess. Don't have too much of a bias just based on fundamental matters, right? Because if anything, the fundamental matters are typically what causes extreme moves, right? Because the markets are moved, price action is moved by human psychology, and so whenever you have fundamental things, people tend to get a little bit overexcited regardless of the direction. Okay. But yes, bears are looking for shorts tomorrow, and then bulls, if we do see that daily consolidation, we will be scouting that, I shouldn't say bulls will be scouting a daily higher low. Anything over 1369 will be one. Okay, that about covers it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all soon.